Okay. So let's go look at the window update event. And so for whatever reason, I'm having a hard time remembering what that's called. So window update event, window update callback, window update handler. Just making some notes so that when I find it, I'll know what to do with it. But I do remember there was one called game obj for updating game objects. Okay, so it was native window was what that was called. So if we just look around here, we can, find the native window function. And this is the default one. So that is... Yeah, that just one level of extra indirection makes it a lot more difficult to find things than I thought. But yeah, when I coded this, I did think that this was like an excessive amount of indirection, and you can see because when I was like trying to trace through to find where everything was, it was a little bit more difficult than I feel like it should have been. We can, if we want to, we could go like, actually let's do it inside of the function. I'm just going to add a little comment right here, just to make it easier to like control F and find all instances of this really quick, because I probably should have noticed it when I saw this, but I just didn't see it down there, so that'll get my attention. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so there's like 9 references, but that's not too bad to be able to like click through that all really quick and find out where you are. Oh, actually no, 10 or 11. Okay. So we will set this, and I believe it's going to be like, so we have our global, I believe it's going to be global classes, because the canvas adapter is, or the adapter graphics is somewhat of a complicated object, and then within there we have the canvas HTML, and let's save our canvas HTML like that, and grab HTML5 canvas, and then on the canvas we should be able to go add event listener, and then we want something like click, and then we'll have like the we're gonna call it I'm gonna call it A2JS poll events, and I'm gonna call it click. Yeah? Sure, why not? Okay. And we're gonna need click, we're gonna need like a mouse move, and we're gonna need like the keyboard. So mouse move, and then we're gonna need keyboard, or key press, key up or key down. So I'm thinking I don't want to overly, segment this. So the keyboard events, right? We could have one event listener for both up and down, and then we see if it's up or down event in it. Key press. Oh. That is very wordy. Key press or key release. Sure, why not? So this should be like keyboard, I believe. And this might be mouse move or mouse move. I'm not sure. Okay, so we're gonna go take a look on... Oh, God. Man, I am horrible. It's been 5 minutes, and you've just been staring at this clock, wondering what the hell I'm writing. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the channel where I just record things unedited, and so I have been making plenty of mistakes. That's kind of why I don't expect anyone to really watch this, but maybe, you know, I'll take what I have recorded and use it to make some better material in the future or something. I don't know. Okay, so this is kind of what I've been doing. We now have this canvas HTML object within the adapter graphics, accessible through our global classes object. We're just going to add these different event listeners for the different events, and I'm just going to check on the internet what the correct syntax for that is, because I don't think I have it correct. So let's see. Event listener. Okay, so. Okay, let's take a look. How do I add a simple on-click event listener? Yeah, so click is correct. So click is definitely what I wanted. Let's see. Okay, yeah, click is definitely what I wanted for one of them. But event listener, okay. But we want to look at the mouse event as well, because I think that I didn't spell that correctly, or I'm missing... Okay, let's see this guy over here. Really, you know what I should do? So I should just reference my old code, because it already has that. Mouse down. Oh, do we have, like, mouse up? So what I'm noticing is mouse down is... oh, wait. I'll just make a list. So I'm typing off screen, right? So I'm going to make a list over here. Of some of the events. So there's mouse down, click, and I'm pretty sure it's keyboard, but let's keep on looking. Or actually, maybe we have a mouse move. Oh yeah, you can select mouse down, mouse up, mouse move. So these are very similar to the Java, or not JavaScript. They're very similar to ActionScript events. Mouse out, mouse over, mouse down, mouse move, mouse out, mouse over. So there's like tons of different things we can do, and we just want to stick to, we want to keep this simple. So what can we get by with without having to mean, eventually we might need some level of polish where we're going to have these more specific events. But for now, what can we get away with that's just simple as possible? I believe... Right? So now let's look for... I'm going to look for a keyboard event listener in JavaScript. Jeez, I can't spell JavaScript. Keyboard event. So keyboard events, key down, key press, and key up. So I just want key press, so kind of like click. It's like, I don't really care if it's up or down. And the reason for that is I don't want to do any fine-grained tweaking at this point. I just want to get things working on a course level before I even consider any type of polish. Alt key. Okay, key down, a key has been pressed. Key up, a key has been released. And then obsolete, motherfuck. Obsolete events. Key press, a key that normally produces a character value that has been pressed. This was highly device dependent and obsolete. You should not use it. So I'm gonna bet that JavaScript uses some type of generic key event, or just an event in general, and you can detect if it's a key up or key down. And so what I am going to do is, now that I see that there is key down and key up and key press. I think I used key press in the last time I wrote code on video when they were doing event handling. I actually did use a key press, but I'll just make a note of key press is obsolete. Mozilla keyboard events. I'll just make a note here. Let's say I'll also call this key press URL, key up URL, and key down URL. So that tutorial I was looking at a tutorial, I think, when I found out about key press. It was probably an antiquated tutorial, which can happen. Okay, so now that we know that, that it is antiquated and we shouldn't use it, I guess we'll not use the key press. And what we'll do is we will... So this is a very wordy name, right? Key press or key release. But I'd like to keep things simple, right? So click and keyboard is no such thing. It's called... so what we're going to do, we're going to take key up and key down, and we're going to register them twice. Because we're going to go key up, and key down. And we can get rid of I'm going to get rid of some of this extra gonna get rid of some of this extra space. Like, this is how I usually like to indent things, but I think I might kind of like condense that a little bit. So key up and key down, and we might want to divide things into like 2 different sections as well. Dash line I2. Oh, that's right. Okay. And we can just make a note of which sections these are. So this is mouse. And then this section right here is the keyboard. Right, so we have some logical division here. I guess if we want to, we could, well, maybe we can't. Well, hold on. So that, and then, yes, like that. Okay. Then we could put this over here. It's a little bit different than how I usually do it, but right. But those are some clear, distinct sections, so that's fine. And here's where we're just registering. We'll make a little note here. So this is what this section is all about, registering these events. And because we are in JavaScript, right, we can nest functions inside of each other. So the idea is I want to like kind of pretend that I want to pretend that these events are actually being polled, even though they're just being registered with these listeners, and that's why they're named poll events, because eventually, instead of registering them as a listener in the C code, instead of registering these as event listeners, the poll events, I'll actually just call the poll event functions directly in here. But since this is not C code and it works a little bit different, we're gonna we can't do that. So, but I am gonna name it like that so I know what the intention is for later. So what we can do is so we'll just create something like if this was C code. And I'm just going to add a note that what we would do is we would be doing something like this. And maybe not exactly like this, but just, you know, we're going to look for any click events. We're going to look for any key press or key release messages. Or maybe we're just going to do, like, or maybe we'll just pull all events, but the idea is we're going to do it in more of like a message type loop. Or maybe A2JS pull events all, and then A2JS handle just making a note that, you know, this is probably just some ideas of how I might want to do this if this is the C code. And that's just a note for if I refactor this into C, I'll kind of have an idea of what the intention was of the original code and have some ideas of how to start refactoring it. Okay, so with these event listeners, right, these functions don't actually exist. Like I said, we want we want to keep everything as linear as possible. So instead of putting these functions into the global functions container or any other stuff, I think we're just gonna put them like directly in here for now. So we're gonna just right now functions, when you declare them, they're hoisted. So even if I declare these functions down here, it'll still be accessible. So we'll say and then kind of ran out of some space there, so we're gonna write it like this to condense that. So we can write a little note here. So NatEv stands for native event, and that's so we can distinguish between our custom event object and the native event to the JavaScript code. And the native event has like tons of stuff in it that I don't think we need, and that's why I have my own event object that's much more simple. I've done that before, but let's just go console.log and we'll say click. Right, we want to get something working as quickly as possible, and we've been lagging here. So console.log, and we'll say this is key, and then we'll say up or down, right? We don't know if it's a key up or key down because we registered the same handler twice. And the reason why we register the same handler twice is because I just want to keep it as simple as possible, and I don't want like tons of different handler functions. So the most rudimentary way we can get all of the inputs that we need is, one handler for the mouse, one handler for the keyboard, right? Keeping it as rudimentary as possible. We won't add anything else until we're in like more of a polish phase. So none of this click drag stuff, right? We're not going to do that. So I'll be back. I got to take a quick break. And I'm also like 5 minutes over my 20-minute time anyways.